inchi, tabia zako ziko chini. Unapenda kulipa hongo na kutumia njia za uongo. Una mipango na hata watoto wa kando. Haujui hata majina yao. Kura yako uliuza maini figo, ukakulia hadi dini. Kisha wasema tukuthamini, na wewe hapo hauaminiki. Na wewe hapo haupangiki.
Wapi kidero when you need to slap somebody? Complain ufisadi kwani ulidhani t-shirt 50 bob leso siku ya campaign ilikuwa free? Ni 5 year loan investment utalipa kingia parliament. We are one, amani we are one. Na utumishi kwa wote, utu missing CCTV we were watching. Racial insecurity na job opportunity ni kama mti ya kibiriti. Side moja heavy, usiniambie Kenya kuna umaskini, kwani hizi fat fingers zinaibia nane? Maskando ina threaten our survival. Media define leadership, na sura ukiaka front page na improve readership. Ambia wase wa Twitter wa hashtag hii ama hash reality doesn't make a good TT. Commission of inquiry wanakula commission bila kutupa ukweli. Ni kubaya baka kukiwa kuzuri unashindwa nini mbaya. Machozi ya perpetrator ineza dilute damu ya victim ilimwagika. After all is said and done, all will be said, nothing will be done. You're not my tribe, but you're my blood type. Like it doesn't have to take tragedy to know that.
Sheria
Yes, and a very, 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 very good evening to you. Habari gani? How you doing? Hey, I'm full of life because have you seen people in that republic? Wameingia kwa kitanda ya prime minister wakalala hapo na wamekula chakula sana huko State House. If you don't know what I'm talking about, today. You know, when we were getting into our Mandamano space, oh my God, where are my manners? Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to this show. This is Sheria Dive right here with me, James WaNjeri, where we talk everything legal. But today, of course, it's a beautiful day for democracy because our lovely, lovely people, brothers and sisters in that country called Bangladesh have said enough is enough. And their president, I think their prime minister has been there for about 15 years. They have ended her 15-year reign. I think she killed so many people during the recent protests that were witnessed in that country. And it's been so interesting to see. They actually stormed the State House. They have even stormed the parliament. They go to the State House. They went, they ate their food. They got into her bed. They are sleeping in there. And you know, let me tell you something. Yes. Guys, it's about the people. You know, I think leaders need to really wisen up. The world today is a place where people actually demand to be governed in a way that recognizes their inherent value, in a way that recognizes their inherent dignity, and in a way that respects them. I think those days of leaders lording it over people, those days are long gone. Leadership is about service. And I think all around the world, the people are saying, you need to serve us. The days of politicians serving themselves, those days are long gone. And so I just want to give a big shout out to Bangladesh. We don't know what the future looks like for them, but you know what? The present is beautiful. And now they can decide what they want their future to look like. So big up to our fellows over there in Bangladesh. It's just that we only play Kenyan music. Otherwise, tungecheza ngoma za Bangladesh. Mimi hata sijui ngoma za Bangladesh zina soundaje. But you know, it is what it is. Today, on this show, I'm here between 5 and 6 on this Sheria Dive show. I think you're joining it Sheria Drive. So if you're in your car, you're heading home, you're in the mat, you have your earphones in or your AirPods. Also AirPods, you know. We're going to have a lovely show for you because today we're talking about something that happens so often that we've treated it like it's kawaida, and that is sexual harassment in the workplace. Have you ever been harassed sexually in the workplace? And we're going to be looking at what exactly is that when you talk about sexual harassment. What are you speaking about? And as you know, hii show si story ya jaba. I'm not here to give you my views and opinions. We're here to talk the law. So you're going to be looking at some of the cases that have been decided in court with regards to these matters of sexual harassment. And if you're listening to this and you're an employer, you're in HR, you know, you're a business owner, or even you're an employee, we're going to be talking about some of the things that you need to do in your organizations, because there's a lady who was at Fox News who said that she had been sexually harassed and she won millions of dollars in a settlement. It's a really big issue, and we need to promote safe workspaces for every single person in this Republic of Kenya. So today in our music journey, we're going to be taking it a bit acoustic. You know, you've had a long day. It's a Monday. Some of you are not even looking forward to going to work today. So just want to keep it soft, keep it nice, keep it acoustic, keep it soulful. That's what the music is going to be like today. But remember, if you have any questions on today's topic, or if you want to chime in and give any views, you can do that through the socials at Pawa Radio, at James WaNjeri, and we'll be right here to respond to each and every one of those. And of course, part of the reason I'm excited is because on Saturday, if you remember, if you're listening to this show on Saturday, tumekohoa aje studio? Yeah, bana. Tumekohoa huko studio. But today I'm happy to report that I have overcome that bad and nasty flu that I had, and I'm much better, and I thank God for that. So let's get the music, and then when we come back, we begin a deep dive into what exactly is sexual harassment. Let's go.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up.
I just want to tell you that I've reached my breaking point, and the constant fighting and unanswered calls is just too much for me. I deserve peace, and it's time for me to find it elsewhere. So this is a goodbye, and I truly hope we both find the happiness we're looking for.
Kama unaenda pete na vitenge zote beba, utavana mtu wako mutatesa. Ni sawa umepata someone better. Nitaziweka picha za sherehe ya Disemba, vile tulikata bila chesa, hadi ukasema unanipenda, ulinicheza. Nibusu tena kabla hujaenda, kama Disemba, na unikumbatie, usiniwachilie, nibusu tena kabla hujaenda, kama Disemba, na unikumbatie, usiniwachilie. Mi sitafuti better than you, nataka moja better for me, enda utolewe machinta tu, nusu ya roho haina meaning, ambia madhemi niko fiti, asinitafute, situation ni tricky, itabidi ajue, uniweke pole pole, roho yangu niokote, kabla umati kanyage. Nibusu usiniwachilie. Nibusu tena kabla hujaenda kama Disemba, na unikumbatie, usiniwachilie, usiniwachilie.
And of course, that's Shad Mziki. Shad Mziki is a Kenyan artist. And in that song, he's talking about Sheria December. Anasema apigwe busu tena. I don't know. It's the beginning of the month. Huh? Is there anyone who's just feeling like they want to go back for closure? That's Shad Mziki for you. And of course, a very big up to Shad Kiprono as well, who's been one of the leading lights as we talk about matters to do with Occupy Parliament and financial accountability. Actually, he's been reviewing a lot of the loans that Kenya has. But anyway, moving away from that, now, sexual harassment. What exactly is sexual harassment and what does that mean? Now, according to a report I read recently, it says that 4 out of 5 women in Kenya have been sexually harassed in one form or the other. Okay? And it also actually gets worse at work, leading to the creation of unsafe spaces at work. And we're going to be looking at how does this manifest itself. Now, if you look at Section 6 of the Employment Act, the Section 6 of the Employment Act says that an employee is sexually harassed if the employer of that employee or a co-worker. So that's important to note, that to experience sexual harassment in the workplace, it either has to be one, the employer, or a fellow employee, a co-worker. Okay? Now, number one, they directly or indirectly request you for sexual intercourse, sexual contact, or any other form of sexual activity that contains an implied or express. Number one, there's a promise of preferential treatment in employment. If you give me those things, I will give you this promotion. Basically, that's what's happening there. That there's a promise of preferential treatment. I'll treat you better. I'll add your salary. I'll move you to a better department. I'll give you more flexible hours. So there's something that you're being promised in exchange, either in exchange for sexual intercourse, in exchange for sexual contact, or any other form of sexual activity. And we're going to be looking at what do we mean when you talk about sex? I think intercourse is clear, right? But what do you mean when you talk about sexual contact or sexual activity? The other thing as well is there's also an implied or express threat of detrimental treatment in employment, where now someone is saying, remember the first one was saying, I'll give you this. The other one is saying, if you don't give me that, then this will not happen to you, okay? You'll not be able to progress in this office. You won't get that promotion that maybe you deserve. You won't get that raise. Oh, I'm going to fire you. All those things. I'm going to take you through disciplinary. So there's a threat. Give me or, okay? Then number 3, There's also a threat about the present or future employment status, where your employment is now being put on the line. You do this or you lose your job. Remember, the other one was, I'll change how things are in this employment space for you. But in this case, we're saying they actually threaten you about the present or future employment status of your work as an employee. So. But then number 2, one of the ways the Employment Act speaks about sexual harassment is saying that it also occurs when someone uses language, whether written or spoken, of a sexual nature. This one, I think, itakula millennials sana, because we're very liberal in how we address each other. We're going to be looking at some of those examples. What are some things you can actually tell someone in the workplace that will be considered to be sexual harassment? Now, when you look at what international instruments, like you have the International Labour Organization, what are some of the things they've said? They've actually expanded sexual harassment to include unwelcome, determined behavior, okay? Whether direct or indirect, such as physical contact and advances, sexual advance, a physical advance, sexual favors, sexually colored remarks, showing of pornography and lewd photos, and other verbal and nonverbal conduct of a sexual nature that is unwelcome or humiliating to the person. And this can be male or female. I remember there's a lawyer who went to court because she was terminated by her employer. And the reason is because there's this guy in the office he would call baby boy, my lollipop. But the guy said no. And she was terminated. And so it was one of those questions. What is some conduct that is ongoing in the place of work that could actually be considered sexual harassment? But there's a very key element when you talk about sexual harassment. To determine what harassment is, it has to be behavior that, number 1, is not acceptable to the other person, okay? It has to be unwelcome behavior. The other person has to say, no, I do not want to participate in that. I do not want to do that thing. If that is not there, then there is no harassment. Because remember, there has to be someone who's complaining and saying, I do not like this. So it has to be, this makes me uncomfortable. This is being said, I do not appreciate it. And I would not want to be part of something like that. So that is what we look at when we talk about cases of sexual harassment. So it can be, as well as we've said, it can be physical conduct, it can be verbal, and sometimes it can be non-verbal. So let's look at some of those examples. Physical conduct, of course, it has to be physical conduct of a sexual nature. Remember, the sexual nature is why it's sexual harassment. There's harassment and there's sexual harassment. So physical conduct, we are talking about touching. We're talking about sexual assault. You're talking about rape. Did you know that rape actually occurs in some of our workplaces? Yeah. So that, even when you talk about things like a strip search. Now, a few months ago, there was something that came up in the news. And what they said was, there are these ladies who work at a tea factory, okay? Now, at the tea factory, they had bins that would be set aside for different kinds of trash. And they also had a specific area where you could dispose sanitary towels, okay? So one day, I think one of the supervisors discovered that someone had disposed a sanitary towel in the wrong bin, okay? Do you know what they did? They called all the women and forced them to take off their clothes and their panties to establish who was on their period so that they could know who was a guilty party who threw the sanitary towel in the wrong bin. They actually conducted a strip search of all these employees, and it was actually said that there were men who were there when all this was happening. So these are some of the realities about things that are happening in our workplaces, and that is very, very illegal. So questions of strip searches, that also amounts to sexual harassment of a physical nature. Verbal, of course, we're talking about unwelcome innuendos. Huo dem amebeba, ukisikia unaambia umebebea hadi watu wa Bongoma. No. Some of those things, They may sound funny, but they're very offensive to women, you know? Or you can even be a man, you know, you're talking about their physique and how their muscles, all that. Okay? So there's unwelcome innuendos. Remember, it has to be unwelcome. Then there's suggestions and hints. Utakuja kunipikia lini? Situende kwangu leo unipikie. Such things, guys. Sexual advances. Then sometimes comments with sexual overtones. I think I have heard of people who are told, hey, today you look happy, yeah? Yeah, I think your husband did that thing, yeah? Hey, you got laid. You know, you say something like that and you laugh about it, but it's very, very offensive to the person on the other side. Or we talk about sex-related jokes or insults, or maybe unwelcome graphic comments about a person's body. You know, you're talking about a person's body, you're talking about their boobs, you're talking about their bum, you're talking about their arms, you're talking about anything, you know, that is a comment made about their body and it's directed towards them. It's unwelcome and it's inappropriate, because remember, the workplace has appropriate communication and there's what you call inappropriate communication. And it could even be comments about a person's sex life or lack of it, you know. And maybe even whistling. If someone passes and there's a whistle, that is part of sexual harassment in terms of verbal forms. Of course, there's non-verbal forms, okay? Imagine your coworker tells you, hey, hebu kama uniangalilie hii Excel sheet. Ukienda kuangalia Excel sheet unapata there's a photo there, an X-rated photo. Maybe they're watching pornography and they've just exposed that to you. Or indecent exposure. You've heard of these stories. I think I remember a friend of mine she was so shocked. She was walking in town and this guy was walking in front of her and, you know, they're walking towards each other. They don't know each other. And this guy just pulls out his penis right there in town in front of everyone. And she was so shocked. So that is also a form of sexual harassment where someone engages in indecent exposure. Or even what you call flashing, for instance. Imagine if you walked in the office and a chick just opens a blouse. Bro. Then the unwelcome display of sexually explicit pictures and objects. So when you talk about sexual harassment, talk about it in those three ways. Number one, there's physical conduct. Number two, there's verbal forms of sexual harassment. And number three, we have the non-verbal forms. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a case of a house help. Someone who worked in a house and some of the things they were actually subjected to. You actually will not believe this story. And the best part about it is that it made its way to court, and our judges here in the Employment and Labor Relations Court had a chance to look at that and to give their thoughts on it. So let's get some music, and then when we come back, we talk about the case of NML versus Peter Petrosh. Let's go.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Pressure, ona vile inatupeleka. Pesa, ukiata leo unakesha na kuna kesho. Tulia kidogo, ganga ya leo. Na kinge moyo wako, moyo wako. We've made it this far, we're gonna be okay. With wonderful scars that help us find our way. And when it gets dark and you cannot feel my faith, pick up the guitar and sing a song again. Cuesta, find your truth, don't let it define ya. Tesa, ukiweza, fanya vitu zitakupendeza. We ran away from misery and had to pay for it dearly. Tutachelewa, lakini ndoto zetu hatutachorea, chorea. we've made it this far. We're gonna be okay. With wonderful scars that help us find our way. And when it gets dark and you cannot feel my faith, pick up the guitar and sing a song again.
Yes, that is Mutori with Pressure. And as I told you today, any show tunapeleka tu pole pole. I know you've had a long day, so we just want to make sure that you are having a smooth end to your day. Now, there was a matter, NML versus Peter Petrosh. This matter was actually, this happened in Mombasa. And when you actually read some of the things that happened here, it's actually ridiculous. Now, according to the employee who was female, she said that she worked as basically as a house help, and she was paid 10,000 per month and worked from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, according to her, she said that her boss, who was a guy, he occasionally patted her buttocks as she cleaned and told her that Africans were stupid. This guy was of German descent. Then he also called her a stupid monkey. He told her that Africans overeat and that she had become fat. On other occasions, he touched her breasts, asking her if she had become pregnant. Then he also commanded her to bathe before she went into his house. And while she bathed, he took videos and pictures of her. Now, on several occasions, he demanded that she has sexual intercourse with him, and would also call her and demand that she watches pornographic movies with him. Now, according to her, on one occasion, he asked her to take a cup of coffee to his bedroom. When he was done with the coffee, he called her to retrieve the cup. She found him naked. He had covered his penis with a coffee cup. He asked her to retrieve the cup. On another occasion as well, he called her into his bedroom and he was making love to his wife. And he demanded that she watches him making love to his wife so that when his wife was gone, she would know how to make love. That is the story of what she actually went through. And of course, beyond that, she also spoke about how when she would be late, he would deduct her salary and would go ahead and really punish her financially. And of course, she was under a lot of pressure because also of the sexual nature of some of the things that he was doing against her. Of course, the court began by noting that under Section 6 of the Employment Act, those actions would fall under sexual harassment because, number one, there was a request for sexual intercourse. Number two, there was sexual contact. He was touching her bum. He was touching her breasts. He was also making comments about her body and, putting a cup over his penis and telling her to, come and pick it. This is what the court said. On sexual harassment, the claimant gave the following evidence. Petrosh patted her buttocks as she cleaned and told her Africans were stupid. He called her a stupid monkey. He said Africans overeat and she had become fat. She also added another incident of sexual harassment, alleging that she was supposed to kiss him after work. If this did not happen, he would deduct 300 shillings from her salary. And the court noted that she was not clear whether this rate of deduction was daily, weekly, or monthly. All right? Now, the interesting thing about this case is that the employer, this Mr. Petrosh, he actually participated in these proceedings in court. The only thing that he said was a lie was the allegation about being video recorded. He said, I never recorded her video. And this is what the court says. Even assuming there was no truth in the claimant's allegations about being video recorded, Where is the challenge to her other accusations, which were just as grave, if not graver? He does not deny calling her a stupid monkey and an overeating African. He does not deny touching her buttocks and breasts. He does not deny demanding to have sex with the claimant. He does not deny covering his penis with a coffee cup and asking her to retrieve it from his penis. He says nothing about inviting her to watch him have sex with his wife so that she could learn to do it with him while his wife was gone. And the court said that the evidence of serious sexual harassment, gender and racial bigotry passed unchallenged. Now, one of the things as well that the court considered is the aspect of making reference to her body and telling her that, she was overeating and had become fat. And the court said that Petrosh suggested to the claimant, now this was the employee while cross-examining her, that she drank a liter of milk every day. His partner, his wife, testified that the couple wanted to know how the girls used food and drinks. The girls got angry and left employment. He did not deny that he demanded that she showers before she started her duties every morning. And the court found that those pieces of evidence corroborated her complaint relating to overeating, being fat, and mandatory bathing. The court accepted the evidence on sexual harassment as being truthful. Now, I know this actually sounds like it's ridiculous. Can that actually happen in the real world? Yes, it does happen in the real world. And another case you're going to be looking at is a case of a guy who had decided that in that company, if you're a woman and you want to be promoted or you want to move ahead in life, you have to actually have intercourse with him. And it is something that the women had come to accept and would often whisper among each other. If that guy calls you, just know this is what he's calling you for. Now, why is sexual harassment such a big problem? It's because, number one, the court found that no other form of sex discrimination violates so many fundamental rights. Remember that as a person, you have the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. Okay? Now, the Article 5 of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that no one shall be subjected to torture or cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment or punishment. Now, the International Labour Organizations, the Committee of Experts, listed examples of sexual harassment in their 1988 General Survey and included insults, remarks, insinuations, and inappropriate comments on a person's dress, physique, age, or family situation, a condescending attitude undermining their dignity, unwelcome invitations or requests that are implicit or explicit, whether or not accompanied by threats, lascivious looks, when someone looks at you with intention, or any other gestures associated with sexuality, unnecessary physical contact such as touching, caresses, pinching, or assault. The court found that Article 27 of Kenya's Constitution is unequivocal on equality and freedom of all persons. Under Article 28 of Kenya's Constitution, every person is guaranteed inherent dignity and the right to have that dignity respected and protected. Article 29 of the Constitution of Kenya secures the right of every person not to be subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources and outlaws treatment or punishment which is cruel, inhuman, or degrading. The court found that her rights, even though she was a domestic worker, were violated. Okay? The court was of the opinion that Petrosh appears to have acted the way he did because he felt she was a mere domestic worker. He objectified her, invading her body by touching her buttocks, and she cleaned his house and touching her breasts. He injured her inherent dignity and assaulted her modesty by demanding that she has sex with him, watching him mate with his wife so she could learn how to do it in the absence of his wife, and by asking her to remove the coffee cup from his penis. And the court, of course, found that she was all the more vulnerable because of her gender, race, and social standing. Because of all this, the court found in her favor and issued her with damages at the rate of 1.2 million shillings, 1,200,000 shillings for the harassment that she had undergone. So, sexual harassment is a very, very expensive endeavor for the employer. And the employer has to make sure that you do not promote a culture in your workplace that perpetuates such behaviors, because should the court find you guilty of that conduct, then the price to pay is truly, truly very high. When we come back, we're going to be looking at another example still from our courts. But remember, at the end of the day, the lesson is this: workplaces need to be safe spaces for every single person, regardless of their gender, regardless of their age, regardless of their orientation, regardless of their sex, regardless of who they are. Everyone needs to feel safe in the workplace.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
Nitajaribu kile mindaweza, ndio nikuone ukitabasamu. Niko na wivu kwa wale wenye pesa, maisha yao lazima iwe tamu. Na akisisi tunanyeshewa na inanisumbua, sipendi kuona ukitembea kwa baridi na mvua. Ndo maana ndajaribu kile mindaweza, hizi mashida situzisahau. Juu vile nilikupenda hapo mwanzoni, mpaka saizi ni zaidi. Mashida ni kawaida, haziwezi tuzika, hazitatushinda. Ndio maana mpenzi sibagui, nitakupenda kwa mabaya na kwa mazuri. Ukweli mpenzi sibagui, nitakupenda kwa mabaya na kwa mazuri. Kujitambua ndio ilifanya nikakuchagua, na nikoshua shida zikija ndazitatua mama. Wayo ukitaka maziwa ama halua ndazinunua, na kuletea kasi na fea nitatembea mama. Nona kila kitu ndio upate, hata kama ni machache, ni lazima nijikaze. Nasema tena, kila kitu ndio upate, hata kama ni machache, ni lazima nijikaze. Juu vile nilikupenda hapo mwanzoni, mpaka saizi ni zaidi. Mashida ni kawaida, haziwezi tuzika, haziwezi tushinda. Ndio maana mpenzi sibagui, nitakupenda kwa mabaya na kwa mazuri. Ukweli mpenzi sibagui, nitakupenda kwa mabaya na kwa mazuri. Nasema mpenzi sibagui, no, nitakupenda kwa mabaya na kwa mazuri. No, mpenzi sichagui, nitakupenda kwa mabaya na kwa mazuri. Ndajaribu kile mindaweza, ndio nikuone ukitabasamu.
Yes, nikuone ukitabasamu. Leo ni my love songs manze. Hapo tu ndio tunachezea. Tutaki hiyo mchezo. Just feeling good and feeling good. Fantastic. Now, we're talking about matters to do with sexual harassment. How should questions of sexual harassment be dealt with? How should employers actually go about dealing with cases where an allegation of sexual harassment has been made? What does the law expect as a bare minimum? Now, one of the things you need to realize is that when it comes to sexual harassment, one of the requirements for an employer is to ensure that when another employee comes and claims you are sexually harassed, you have to make sure that you handle the matter in a very confidential manner. You do not reveal the name of the complainant until your investigations are complete. Okay? You cannot go and announce to everyone else and tell them, this person is being accused of sexual harassment, or so and so has accused so and so has accused this other guy of sexual harassment. No, you keep it confidential so that you can go ahead and deal. You can go ahead and deal with the matter in a very confidential manner. But the person who has been accused needs to be informed. Okay, they need to be informed about what they have done so that they can also be given a chance to actually go ahead and give their defense or say this is what happened or this is what did not happen. And then all that is considered. And after that is done, then you can go ahead and issue that decision as you take them through the disciplinary process. Now, one example where an employer dealt with the sexual harassment, or rather with a case like this that ended up being a sexual harassment claim, was in cause number 1979 of 2015. This was between JWN and Securex Agencies Kenya Limited. And this was a very interesting case because the claimant was a female employee who was assigned to provide guarding services at a place known as Nakumatt Junction Mall on Gong Road. She was paid 472 shillings per day. Now, her evidence is that improper conduct was reported against her, and her employer undertook the relevant investigations and found that the allegations were baseless. During the investigations, she continued in employment and performed her duties. She was not aware of the ongoing investigations. Now, one day, the supervisor at Nakumatt Junction Mall convened a routine parade attended by 39 guards who were in the employment of the employer and deployed at the mall. These were guys, this was guys who worked at the mall, okay? They were providing security at the mall. Now, she was present at the parade. A parade was called one day. Then the day supervisor known as Gideon consulted the night supervisor known as Nicodemus. The day supervisor then addressed the parade and announced that there was a female guard who had been captured on CCTV footage having sex with a stranger. The supervisor stated that the guard in issue had depicted disrepute to the organization. Okay, kuna mtu alipatikana akifanya tendo la usinzi. I think that's the word they use. Now, the culprit was not disclosed, but the supervisor undertook to have the culprit taken to the employer's office by 10 a.m. and would be summarily dismissed. So, as you can imagine, the 39 members at the parade became very anxious. And then the supervisor explained that whoever would be picked was the culprit. And he also stated that the culprit was a person of loose morals. The parade was then dismissed and members proceeded to their respective areas of employment. The claimant, who was a lady employee, worked as usual, but a colleague inquired from her if she knew who the culprit was. She said she did not know. Further, another lady known as Christine was brought with the aim of relieving her at her workstation. So it's like, imagine if she was at the gate at the mall. Christine comes and she's told, you take over this job. And then the employee now was told, report to the office, and then you'll find there's a car waiting for you to take you to our office, our head office, where you are going to answer some of the questions. Okay? Now, she prepared to leave, just the way the supervisor had said, but the manager, one Kanyora, directed her not to leave the station. She was then assigned to work within the mall, but in an area ordinarily and exclusively guarded by male employees. Okay, so there was an area only for male employees. So first she's taken from her station. Then she's put on a station where only male employees work. Okay. That day at about 4 p.m., the manager, HR officer, and the day supervisor arrived and called her aside and asked her if she was aware of the sexual relations affair. They informed her that the same had been captured on CCTV. She requested to see the CCTV footage which recorded the alleged sexual escapade to verify the allegations. So the manager, the human resource officer, and the day supervisor went to the back room recording devices. They then left without informing her what had transpired. The next day, the day supervisor mentioned that the employee had been thought to be the culprit in the alleged sexual escapade and further announced at the parade that the allegations were untrue. Now imagine, just listen to what has happened here. They call her, they tell her, they call her privately and tell her, it must be you who did this thing. Then she says, okay, show me the CCTV. They go to watch the CCTV, they leave her behind. Then they tell her, no, they don't even say anything to her, they just leave. The next day, a parade is called. Then the supervisor says, let's imagine this person is called Mary, for instance. The supervisor says, we have done our investigations and Mary is not the one who had sex in the mall. Okay? And this is said in front of all the other employees. So while you're saying she's not the one, why are you announcing it in front of everyone? Because remember, they had said the one who will be pulled aside is the one who has actually done it. And of course, the court recorded that the next thing that happened is that she was emotionally drained and she immediately went into sobbing. She told the supervisors that there was need to verify and authenticate information before communicating it to third parties. This was happening right at the parade. So anyway, the parade dispersed and she reported to her assigned place of work. The next 2 days, she was on off duty to attend to personal matters and she was granted permission. When she came back on the third day, she reported on duty and the day supervisor informed her that the mall property manager did not want her to work at the premises. She was then deployed to serve at an area where only men ordinarily assigned to serve. The employer assigned Christine to take over her position at the mall and was told that she would be allocated another duty station. Now, when she went back to work, she worked for 3 hours and then she was told, you're being summoned to the head office. When she went to the manager, he apologized for the public communication about her on the alleged sexual escapade. And she was told that she would be redeployed. She took off her uniform, changed in civilian attire and headed home to be recalled for deployment. She was actually never called back to come and work. Okay? Now, this actually gets worse because as she was staying at home, her husband started wondering, why are you not going to work? So what does he do? He goes to her workplace to inquire, what happened? Why isn't my wife coming back to work? Why isn't my wife coming back to work? He was then told, your wife inasemekana alikuwa she was catching strokes here at the mall. And you can imagine what now that did to the marriage. Because while he was being told this by the other employees, the supervisor was saying, no, it was not true. We had suspected her, but she was not the one. So, of course, she said that she felt very, very victimized. At an individual level, she felt victimized, okay? And it also affected her home relationship, the relationship with her husband. She was humiliated. Her feelings were hurt. She lost self-respect. Her dignity was lost. She lost self-esteem and confidence. And of course, her subsequent vulnerability at work and family levels. And the court considered all that and said, you have actually been sexually harassed. The fact that those allegations were made against you and in the manner they were made, the court awarded her 1 million shillings for that sexual harassment. And the lesson here is key, that when we are dealing with questions even of suspicion of sexual harassment or suspicion or that someone has engaged in something, you have to be very, very careful in how you deal with it, because anything you do has to be done in the best interest of the person. You cannot do it in a way that violates their dignity. You cannot do it in a way that invites certain comments about them. You cannot do it in a way that makes them feel that their, if it's their reputation, it has been dirtified. If it's a question of their workmates, they can no longer work with their workmates. So employers have a duty. When a claim for sexual harassment has been made, you have a duty to investigate and get to the bottom of it. And if the evidence is there, then you proceed to deal with that as a disciplinary issue, and the parties are called and a hearing is conducted, and then a decision is made. Of course, anyone who's ever faced sexual harassment at work, it's just important to note that the law is actually against that happening to you in the spaces of work and in the places where you are, okay? And there are protections that have been afforded. There are protections that have been provided for you within the organization. Remember, if you have more than 20 employees, you're required to have a sexual harassment policy so that people are able to know what type of conduct is expected of them and what conduct they should not be engaging in, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. It's about that time when we come to the end of this show. We're talking about sexual harassment today. If you have any questions, remember, you can post them online. You can tag us on @Pawa Radio, @James WaNjeri. We'll be able to see that and to respond. We'll be able to look at those questions and to see if we can be able to just answer some of those questions so that you are more knowledgeable, because that's why we are here. We are here, and our work is to ensure that at all times you know what the law says about you and about the things that influence your life. Asanteni sana. Have a lovely evening and a lovely rest of the week. Remember, this show also happens on Saturday. We'll be here on Saturday between 1 and 3 p.m. I hope to see you here. Be safe and avoid that homa. There's a homa that's going around that is very, very nasty. But I pray that you will all be in good health. And of course, nane nane.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
we're moving to Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Yeah, 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 yeah. On the midnight train, steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh, steady rocking on the midnight train to Zion, to Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Steady rocking on the midnight train, steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train to Zion, to Zion.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up.